is Boris Johnson speaking in our Parliament a few moments ago.
I represent a government that was getting on with delivering on the people's priorities. 40 new hospitals, Mr. Speaker, 20,000 more police, 50,000 more nurses. And by the way, we've already recruited 12,000 more nurses and 6,000 more doctors and 4,000 more police.
It trips off the tongue very nicely. Not surprisingly, given that half of that rhetoric has been around since the last election campaign. Abbas Panjwani is a fact checker at Full Fact, objective organisation dedicated to, well, there's a clue in the title, isn't it? Dedicated to checking facts. Abbas, can you talk us through those three, hospitals, nurses and police specifically, do you think?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on. So
welcome.
The hospitals, yes, this was, as you say, a popular line during the election. Of those 40 new hospitals, 6 have been given the funding to actually look at building new hospitals or replacing hospitals on those sites by 2025.
So they're not, they're 6 hospitals that already exist might receive some funding to increase their capacity.
Yeah, so for example, like Whipps Cross Hospital, They're planning to build a new hospital on the current site. I'm not entirely sure if every one of those will be a replacement or if some will be a kind of entirely new hospital, but there definitely are some like replacements in there.
Sure.
It won't be if you add up the number of hospitals, before Boris Johnson and after, that there will be a +6. There will be some replacements. And then the remaining kind of 34 have been given money to create plans for building that might happen after 2025. So it's quite a long-term project, really, to build 40 new hospitals and arguably going a bit beyond the kind of remit of this Parliament.
Yes, of course. There'll be another election before then, but here he is boasting about it being... Okay, next.
Yeah. On the 50,000 more nurses, of which 12,000 have already been recruited, this is the plan is to recruit 50,000 more nurses by 2023-24, and 12,000 have been added to the register, so that is an accurate statement. There was some kind of questioning about whether this 12,000 might include nurses that have come out of retirement to help with the pandemic, but it doesn't. That is genuinely an increase in the register. And if that was to happen, it would mean that the number of nurses per person would increase quite significantly from around 5 per people in England as it is at the moment to about 5.7. So that's quite a significant increase. On the police numbers, Boris Johnson said that they'd added 4,000. I think the official statistical release said that they've added 3,000 police since September 2019 out of the government's plan, 20,000 in total. This would take the level back to roughly where it was before this government came to office in 2010, if you're considering the entire coalition Conservative.
So 20,000 would take it back to where it was in 2010, not the 3,000.
Broadly speaking, it depends. Yeah, so the 3,000 has been recruited so far, and the plan is to recruit them obviously over the term of this Parliament. One kind of interesting thing here is obviously the population has increased quite a lot since then. So recruiting back to that level would still leave the number of police per person about 8% down on where it was back then. That's not to say that it's a worse situation. I mean, crime has been falling, so arguably you might need fewer police, but that's something to consider, that we won't be back to the level of police in terms of the size of the population, even with this 20,000 additional.